The Joe Rogan Experience.
I was brought up Mormon.
Really?
So I was brought Mormon.
Your family's Mormon?
Well, my family's Mormon, but we're all excommunicated.
What happened?
My dad got us all taken out of the thing. So it was just like, we were like deep. We were deep. And then when we moved provinces, the church wasn't good here in Ontario. So in Nova Scotia, big fellowship, Mormon world, you know? Then what my dad was like a high deacon or whatever the fuck it was, or like we always like sat next to like the bishop's family, like front row shit, because it's all like the families, whoever's like up on the stage or whatever, like the family sit in the front rows and shit. And so then when we moved to Ontario, I fucking, you know, like when we were about 12 or 13, right around like that time when we started all of a sudden doing like drugs and drinking is when we stopped going to the church, because that's maybe a part of it too, right? Where like we were like, I never had a Coca-Cola. I never saw a PG rated movie. We only watched G-rated.
Really?
I never saw The Simpsons until I was, you know, like things like that. Like we were allowed.
So once you got excommunicated from the church, they just...
Well, we took ourselves, my dad, I don't know if excommunicate is the right word.
Left the church.
When we left the church, but because they have so much information on you and your family, like fucking family tree stuff, like it takes a long time to actually get your shit out of there.
What do you mean?
Like your info, like I think they just have like a lot of information on you and your families, and they do a lot of ancestral stuff, right? So I think they do like a lot of, and you know, you got to give all, like even like I would get $2 a week for my allowance, and I would have to give 10% to the church. So we would all, me and my brothers, we would have to take our nickels or whatever, our dimes,
Really?
and we'd have to give our 10% to the church.
Really?
Yeah. So that was training, like just think like that training of like giving the church the money from day one and all that kind of shit. So it was just like, and then, you know, my parents are like, they were young, and it's great. They were like the young couple that got knocked on, and my dad was like, come on in, like drink you want a beer?
God.
And all of a sudden my dad was just like, and it was one of those things where I'm like, why? You know, we were so like when I found that out later on, I was like, you literally just like somebody knocked on you let a missionary in here, you know, like where it's like so funny.
How old were you when you were asking him that question?
Like later, like in my 20s.
Yeah.
Like when I had like some balls to like, you know, dads are so scary. So I was just like, you know, like
Why?
Huh?
Yeah, just why? You're asking him why.
Yeah, just like where I was just like, you know, like he would come visit me in college, and we'd go have like lunch, you know, my dad would drive up to the city, and, you know, having those father-son kind of conversations like, hey, like this was kind of crazy back then, or like, why was this? Or like, you know, like why, you know, why were we never allowed to like sleep over at other kids' houses, or like, you know, like things like little small things that I don't think are, you know, crazy. But I think it's definitely like one of those things that like, you know, never having like a Coca-Cola, and then all of a sudden I'm like doing acid. You know, I'm all gas. You know, like it's just like, I was like, oh cool, we're not Mormons anymore? Let's do some blotter acid.
Sometimes that's what triggers it, right? Is the repression. There's so much repression, and then all of a sudden they take the reins off you.
Well, and the idea of heaven, just like at a young age, I strongly felt like there was no heaven. And I strongly felt, I didn't believe it from a young age, because I also, and there's 3 levels of heaven in the Mormon, or in the Book of Mormon, right? There's like the celestial, the fucking whatever, and the whatever. So I was just like,
you guys have 3 levels of heaven?
There's like 3 levels of heaven. So
there's
then
tiers.
There's tiers, right? So the thing that I was a klepto. As a kid, I would like walk into like, you know, a little store and like grab a little thing. Like I remember I stole a jackknife once from like this like, you know, hardware store. Like I would just like take things, you know, a little klepto. And in my head, at a very young age, I was like, I'm never going to be eternal with my parents. At a very young age, I was like, my parents are like, you know, they did the whole thing with the underwear, and they're married forever, and like fucking
underwear is wild.
They had to, I think they had to give it back, or they had to get rid of it. I don't fucking know. I don't know. Let's FaceTime Steve and be like, what the fuck?
So
did you have to give the underwear back, Dad?
I still don't understand. Like they have information on you. Like, why does that make it hard to leave? Because they tell you, hey, we know things about you. Like what?
No, I don't think it's like weird, like that kind of stuff. I just think it was
so
like just to
connected.
get our shit out, to be like stricken of the books.
Right, so you don't have to pay them every week, and
you don't have to. Pence are just like you, or I think it's called Pence, but I think it's like, once again, there's probably a lot of Mormons watching this that are being like, Matty doesn't know shit, and I don't know shit. Okay, I don't know shit. I just lived it.
Right.
But I just think it is. I remember it was just one of those things where I remember my dad and my sister. It was crazy because she had a child out of wedlock. She's gonna love that I say this, but she had like a child out of wedlock. And so that was like a thing where I think it was like, I don't even know. I think there was like a thing where she got like a piece of paper saying she had to go in front of like a tribunal.
Oh boy.
And like, explain herself, or maybe she was getting excommunicated. I still forget. It's kind of fuzzy. But I think it was like one of those things where I remember when the missionaries showed up and it was almost like they served her like papers or some shit. And I remember my older brother almost like beat the shit out of these missionaries. Was like, get the fuck out of here. One of those kind of things. Like, get off our porch, get the fuck out of here.
Serving you papers, you violated.
Yeah. I don't know. Religion's fucked.
I
hate, like, that's the thing is, like, I don't like a lot of...
well, that is the wackiest religion.
It's the wackiest, right?
Yeah,
I know. Of course, I'm a part of it.
It's like, other than Scientology...
I was baptized.
It's the wackiest one.
It's the wackiest one, right?
They know the guy who made it up, and he was a
We used to go to the hill where he found the Book of Mormon, and they used to redo the event, and we would visit the jail where he was, like, murdered.
How old was he when they killed him?
In his 20s?
Isn't that wild?
John Smith, right? John Smith?
Joseph.
Joseph Smith.
He invented it when he was 14 years old.
Let's go. That's incredible. That's like now. That's like a TikToker. You know, everyone just follows TikTok. Same shit.
Well, I just can't imagine a 14-year-old that's not full of shit.
Yeah.
Like a 14-year-old that tells you a story like that, and everybody's like, wow.
He's like, let's
really?
go.
You've met angels?
What are they like? They were beautiful?
You have golden tablets?
I love a golden tablet.
With the last work of Jesus?
Jesus.
Catch new episodes of The Joe Rogan Experience for free, only on Spotify. Watch back catalog JRE videos on Spotify, including clips. Easily, seamlessly switch between video and audio experience. On Spotify, you can listen to the JRE in the background while using other apps and can download episodes to save on data cost, all for free. Spotify is absolutely free. You don't have to have a premium account to watch new JRE episodes. You just need to search for the JRE on your Spotify app. Go to Spotify now to get this full episode of the Joe Rogan Experience.